Well, welcome to Word Basics. My name is David Hayes, and we're going to go over the basic features of Word. We won't get into advanced features. Every week I plan to hold a different workshop on different computer topics. Um, Excel might be broken into two separate ones. Um, I typically have three workshops on it, and each one's 2 hours per each one. So that may be more than what can fit in this time frame. Web design. If you have an individual that wants to learn how to build a web page using HTML, that's one I'm planning. And really, I want to offer what you want to see computer-wise. So if there's anything you want to see offered, then send me a message saying, "Hey, I really would like to see this," and then I'll see about getting that added in there. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this. To start a new Word document, they changed this under this version where you got options up here where you choose whichever option, and it changes different settings you can access. Used to be everything was just under like a menu structure here, like file and I don't even remember what the other menus were, but they changed this to kind of this visual look, so it's a little bit more user friendly. It does take up a lot of space, so if you don't want it to take up all your space, there's an option over here on the right hand side. Collapse the ribbon. And as you put your mouse over these, it'll tell you different keystrokes. Like you don't have to click that with your mouse. You can press your Control F1, and when it does that, it'll collapse that. Now, when you push the home, then it causes it to appear again. There was one Office application I'm currently using online that on my computer at home, I suppose I need to get a better monitor. My computer at home, it takes up about 3/4 of the page, and only got a little space down here where I can work. Unfortunately, I've never figured out how to collapse and expand that bar up there because it's Excel Online, so it doesn't have the same functionality. Now, when you take your mouse off here and you click down here, it'll disappear. How you can get it to stay there is if you get this to appear, just click anything besides the file. Over here on the right-hand side, there's now a button, looks like a push pin. And if you click that, that'll pin it in place. Now to do a new Word document, you do a File, New. And depending upon what you've installed, different versions and so forth, you'll have templates you can choose. So if you want to take advantage that somebody's already developed something for a certificate for an employee, for example, then you'd use this. My son just finished I wouldn't say it's a league necessarily, but it's a homeschool bowling. And they give everybody awards of participation. And so if you were wanting to create that, you could create it from scratch, but there's a template here. And you can change images on it and so forth to get it to look like how you want. And there's a lot of different options here. You can search for options. So for online templates. I'll go ahead and just go into a blank document here. Now, when I did a File New, I don't see my previous document open. If I come down here and put my mouse over this, I see that I have two options here. And so you can just click whichever one you're wanting to edit. There's my document 1 that I had opened. And here's my document 2. Another way in Windows and if you've got a Mac, I'm probably not going to give you a whole lot of useful tips besides just the features of Word. But if you're in Windows, if you hold down your Alt key and you press your tab, you can keep going back and forth between your different applications. So again, I'm holding down my Alt, the ALT, and I'm pressing my tab. Okay, so I got a new document here, and I'm gonna write something. Let's say this is the homeschooling bowling association. So I got something typed up here. This feature is in Windows where you can take something in one document and you can put it in another document. If I highlight this, and how I highlight it, and again, I'm assuming you have no word knowledge, so some of this will be maybe brand new. You'll learn some items. Some of them you'll be bored by because you don't know how to do it. But if I take my mouse and I click and hold down my left mouse button and drag, that'll highlight. And once you got it highlighted, whatever you want, you let up. Now up here, you got something called the Clipboard. This is what allows us to transfer data from one program to another. Now that I got that highlighted, if I press copy, that'll copy it to the clipboard. It's kind of like you got a clipboard in real life, and you're taking something and taking a piece of paper, and you're putting it in there, and you're doing a little metal binder there, and then you're giving the clipboard to somebody else. They're undoing that metal binder. They're taking that piece of paper out. So you're transferring data. So this is now in my clipboard. If I go over to my other Word that I have open here, I come here, then I can click this paste. And that paste whatever I copied. So that's how you can copy data back and forth. You can copy them to a lot of different applications. If I have Excel open, and if I come over here and click paste, you'll see that appears over there. If you create something in Excel, like you create a nice graph, you can copy it and you can paste it over in Word. So there are so many items that go back and forth. Not everything, but enough to where it makes it quite useful. Now, let me change this. I'm going to click this font color here to make it red. So now I got that as red. I'm going to copy it, which again copies it to the clipboard. And I come over to my other version over here, and I click paste. And not only transfers words, but transfers the formatting goes along with it. Now there's a little drop down here underneath paste, and if I choose that, you'll see different options. And this first one says keep source formatting. And with a newer version of Word, when you put your mouse over it, it'll give you a preview of what it's going to do. Now here, it says merge formatting. My font on this one was set bigger, and we haven't talked about font yet, but we will. So when I choose merge formatting, it'll take on the formatting aspect of my new document, or where I'm copying it to. And if I'm just wanting text only, okay, there's text only. Again, it assumes the formatting is already there. I was thinking it wasn't doing anything when I went between those. There's also a paste special. And these are different options you can do. Sometimes if you're copying an item from especially from a website, you're trying to copy it into Word or to Excel, it just doesn't come out real well. And so here you can try different options. Unformatted text, formatted text RTF, Microsoft Word, probably won't want that one. HTML format, and so forth. Now over here, back in document 2, I still got this highlighted. I'm going to cut that. Now cut it actually removes it from this document. And then if I come over to my first document here, I could paste it in. Sometimes when I'm doing something that's kind of tedious, maybe I'm going to write student 01, student 02, student 03, and so forth. I'm a pretty good typer, so I can go through it fairly fast. But what you can do is you can highlight this, do a copy, come down to where you want to put it, and then you do a paste. And you can sit there and paste that over and over, and then just change the number at the end. So lots of different functionality. It doesn't have to be in different documents. You can paste within the same document. Okay, let me go back to document 1. Is there any questions on that so far? Let me see. Hello, my son's name's Eric. Hello, Eric. How? Can't spell. How are you doing? I am doing fine. Hope the weather is nice. Even though he lives in the same house as me. Love, Dad.
Eric's dad.
Okay, now maybe I want this to really stand out in some way. So I highlight this. Again, I held my left mouse button down and dragged it over. You notice this pops up. This isn't in every version of Word, but it's in, I think this is 2016, I believe. I think 2019 is either out or getting ready to come out. But you can choose B for bold. So I just bold that. And I want to do the color, but I don't want it to be red. Next to your colors is drop down. And I can come here and I can choose a different color. And I'll make it italics. And then I'll click off that. And that's what it looks like. This is probably one of the nicest features that they added into these Office products, I think, is maybe I like what I've done here, but I'm not quite sure what I've done. Sometimes you don't even know what color you chose. You come up here, well, I want to choose the same color. It's like, well, which one is it? And sometimes I've done that. Yeah, I've gone to something else here, and I'll say, okay, well, which one is it? Which orange is it? And Microsoft's kind of nice that way because you can check it and try to gauge. But if I have this selected in some way, you could just have your cursor there, or you could have the entire item selected. There's this Format Painter. And if I click that Format Painter, then that copies the formatting to the clipboard, and then whatever you select, it'll apply that to. So if I want to select this entire line, I come to the left, it becomes an arrow, and if I click, it'll apply the formatting to all of that. If you just want it to apply to like a one word, again, you don't have to select anything, you just have to click within that formatting. If you click the Format Painter, then I can come up to that one word, and I'm going to click with my left mouse button and hold down and drag. And then when I lit up, it applies that formatting to that. Not every Microsoft package that I use has that feature, but not most other packages. And it's kind of a pain trying to get that color just right because you know it's a little bit off and you just can't figure it out. Okay, that's the Format Painter. You know, I don't know if that crosses over between applications. Let me click that. I'll click Format Painter and let me go to Excel. I never have tried this. And no, I tried clicking there, it didn't apply it. So I guess it's just per application. It'd be nice if it transferred over. Which document am I in? Okay, I'll go back to document 1. Really nice ways to use these features. And you don't have to remember it. If you put your mouse over it, you see copy is Control-C. So copy is Control-C. And paste is Control-V. So I put my mouse over that. If you work with some Windows programs, they do not have a copy feature. They don't have a paste feature. And if you're trying to figure out how to paste something, you're out of luck if you don't remember these right here. I'm trying to think. The system we use here at Cali is called Blackboard. And it's a course management system, so it keeps track of grades and so forth. If you copy something from Word and try to paste it into Blackboard, there is no paste function. So you have to know that you come over here, you highlight whatever, and now since you're in Word, you could just do a copy right here. That's no problem. But you could do a Control-C, which means I hold down my Control key and I press my C. That copies it to the clipboard. Then, if I were to go over to Blackboard, I'd click wherever I want to put it, and I press Control-V. Now, I don't think I've seen any applications, there might be some, that do not have that capability built in. So I think it's a Windows type of thing. No matter what you're in, you can paste it in there. Some of you work with maybe SOS. I'm trying to think. My wife's mainly worked with that program. But I'm thinking that there was a place where you could type in text on the screen. Well, if your child's over in Word or whatever, and they're typing it up, and you need to transfer that over into that little text box in Alpha, Megas, SOS, or whatever system you're using. Again, if you highlight that, you do a Control-C, go over to there, click within that box, and do a Control-V. It should paste in your text. Took me a while to memorize those. This used to be maybe it's all, or this one. This one used to be Shift Insert. Like if I copy that, and if I do a Shift and then Insert, it still works. I swear that at one point in time, way back when Windows first started, that's the way you did it. But maybe it's always been Control-V and I just didn't know it. Now, that's these basic options here. There's a little drop down here that you can choose. And this shows all the different things that you put on your clipboard. Like if I go ahead and leave that open. And again, how I got that is in this bottom right-hand corner. There's a arrow maybe, some sort. Then if I highlight this and I copy it, highlight this, copy this, highlight this, copy this. You see it's putting it over here. And there's different options you have available over on here. If you do the drop down here, you can paste this. For example, if I come down here and I want to paste love, I don't want to paste this one. I don't want to paste this one. I want to choose this one. If I do a paste, that'll paste that in. This is a really nice feature because if you just use these basic ones up here, it copies and pastes only the last one you did. It doesn't keep a history. So if you want a history, you come over here and it keeps track of everything you're copying. Well, maybe I'm lying. There it goes. I must not have clicked it. My eyes aren't that great. And then you have total control on what you can put in there. If you want to clear something out, delete it. You choose course delete. If you want to paste everything, then it looks like that option. If you want to clear everything from here, then you do the clear all. You notice over here in Microsoft Excel, it has the same feature. I'd be tempted to say that that everything Microsoft-wise has this feature. I don't know if that's a true statement or not. Question mark, I am doing fine. Notice that's the same thing I copied over here, isn't it? So very nice way to transfer data. Okay, to close that, you just click this X. If you want to see the options for the task pane, you can do the drop down there. Move, size, close. If you like everything over on the right-hand side, you can move it to different part of your screen, and so forth. But I'm just going to close that. I don't know what this options is. I never have gone in there. Show Office Clipboard automatically. So I guess you can set it up when you go into Word. It's always there if you find that useful. Show Office Clipboard when Control-C pressed twice. Anyway, those are different options. I'm going to close that. Now, those are little hidden items in every one of these. You notice in the font, which we'll look at next, there's in the bottom right-hand corner is this little, I wish my eyes were better. I could tell you what that is. A little arrow maybe in a rectangle. If you click that, that brings up an additional box that has more features. And I guess I shouldn't say all of them has it, because this one doesn't. But you'll find them in a lot of them. Okay, now we've already looked at some of the formatting on this. If I highlight whatever, remember B is bold, I is for italics, U is for U for underline. So you choose those, it'll underline it. Notice that I had a space selected here too, and it underlined the space. So may not want that. To undo it, you just click it again. And that undoes it. You can see there's again a drop down next to it. If you want the underline to be something different, you want it to be a double line. If you want it to be a little squiggly line. If you want to change the underline color, then you can choose to underline it in different colors. So a lot of different features. A lot of people ignore this just because they do not recognize the little drop down next to it. So if you have that drop down, you can take a look at that, see what else can you do. This is a strike through when you're drawing a line through it. So if you're maybe you have your student do a paper, and they put an extra, and I'm really bad about that. My grammar's horrible. Hope the weather. If you want to grade it, and you can put a strike through it like that, so they know that it's you struck through it. You say, well, yeah, I'd rather just tell them. Yeah, that's the best way. But if you're going through and doing this, in different times, maybe you need to remember that yourself. Well, what in the world was it? And so using some of those features might help you. Some of these I've used, some of them I haven't. This is Subscript. That's where you make your numbers smaller. If you're assuming you have a homeschool student, maybe just set here for your own knowledge. If you put a reference, I think, it's been a while since I wrote a paper. Yeah, Subscript is reference. And maybe you want to reference this somewhere below. You click this Subscript, and that makes it smaller there. So if you're taking a class yourself and you're trying to write a research paper, some require that. I've been using APA so long, they don't use that in APA, but maybe they use that in MLA. But again, if you're learning to write research papers, then that's useful. This next one is a superscript, and that's if you're writing a math problem. X squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. If I wanted to make the squared superscript, I'd want to highlight just it. Now, sometimes it's kind of hard to highlight just that. Maybe you grab too much. One way you can do it is if you just click where you want to start highlighting, you hold down your Shift key, and you do your right arrow key or left arrow key. Then as you hold down your Shift and you keep doing your right arrow or left arrow, it'll change your selection. And then if I choose my squared, then I can make that an x squared. And let me make that a little bit bigger. I apologize. I didn't think about that to begin with. This one is text effects. I really don't use that too much myself. But if you do the drop down here, you can get some nice looks on that. Usually when I try to do anything artistic, I really fail. I'm more of the computer math person. My wife is more of the artistic type person. You can put shadows on your letters. Probably if I made my font bigger, it'd actually be more meaningful in some of these. Reflection. These are really if you're creating a flyer. So if you're creating a flyer for an event, this is where these really probably come in handy. Like if I let me see. Event tonight at the church, 7 o'clock. Oops. 7 o'clock. Come one, come all. So if I have this here, I can select it all, and I could click and hold down my left mouse button and select it like that. You can also select it by lines. If I put my mouse over here, it becomes that white arrow, and if I click and hold down and drag, then it highlights it quickly. So if I made them bigger, this is your size up here, your font size. So I do the drop down, come up with that. If I come up to these effects, you can get it to look like that. Like I say, I have no artistic talent at all, so what I'm going to come up with won't look good. Neat part about Excel is you just change this and it gives you a preview. And then here's the center. We haven't talked about that yet, but if you click the center, then you come up with something that's a little bit more pleasing to the eye, and it's pretty easy to do. The special effects were already here. I just had to apply them and change the size. I did 3 changes. Well, I did maybe a couple changes in the special effects, but anyway, that's what that is. Grab a drink here. There's fonts you can change. If you highlight whatever, and then you come up here, these are all the different fonts you can choose. Now, sometimes it's a pain if what you're trying to change is right underneath that. You can't see the effect. Probably even if you scroll down, you won't be able to achieve that. I really don't know any way to do it except for to click there and press enter a few times. And of course, I don't have it selected anymore. Okay, now I got it selected. There's Algerian bond shrift. If you're into graphic design, you probably get quite excited about these variety of fonts. I probably use a total of 2 or 3 fonts. You can see it change. Now, part of the benefit of this is if I had this up here and I highlight this and I lit up, you see I also got the fonts here. And now I do not have to do that trick of where I do an enter over and over to get that to go down. By highlighting it, if you choose this option instead of this one up here, it gives you the same items, but you can see it a little bit better. This is kind of a context sensitive, so whatever you have highlighted, it tries to bring up a menu that's specific to it. Like this right here, and you can right-click to get it to come back up. You notice how right now I don't have it up? If I right-click in this gray area, I can get that to pop up. And then I can choose these. Still not gray. I guess it does highlight part of it or cover part of it there. I don't know if there's any way to move that or not. I don't see any way. Over in Excel, if I put 33 in here and I right-click, you see it pops up with a similar option. May have additional features that aren't available over in Word. But again, that right-clicking is a really nice feature. It doesn't matter what you in window-wise, try to right-click. Usually right-click means bring up only the options that are meaningful to what I'm doing. See, like I right-click there, and let's see if that's different than what I had. Hyperlink. No, that's the same in Word. Okay. Let me see. Change the size of your font. Choosing that. You could type in. Like there's 48. There's no 50. I could type in 50. Changes it a little bit. Used to be you could only do this on certain fonts. I don't know if you can put in decimals or not. 53.5. Sure enough. Used to be you could just do these on certain fonts. But I think they're all set up that way now to where you have that functionality. Maybe I'm lying. Here's True Type. Meteorological. Let me try to change that to something different. 57. 70. $300. Okay, now I see it a little bit better. I swear it's changing the size of this too, and I don't have that highlighted. but it doesn't appear to be changing this here. I just really messed this up. I had my nice document, now it's all gone to pieces. There's a let me write it down here. This is one of the nicest features in every package is Control Z. Control Z undoes whatever you've done. Undoes, is that a word? Ignore my bad grammar. So I'm over here, I've messed things up. I can do a Control Z and it'll undo it. If I do another Control Z, it'll undo that. As I keep doing a Control Z, it'll keep undoing those. Now up here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a little arrow. This is our Control Z. It undoes. Now if you want to redo something, I don't know the command here. It looks like Control Y. But if you come up here and click this, it'll redo that. And if you click the undo, it'll sit there and undo those. Now, if I do this drop down here, this, if you're wondering, is a customization. So you can have different items in your quick access. You see there's an undo and a redo, and that's what you have here. I show this because if you don't have these options up here, it could be that these are not checked. Now, if you have something else that you want easily available, they have the save, which is the little icon, disk icon here. But if you want to, for example, spelling and grammar, I need that real bad because I messed that up. I come up here and check that, and now that's up here. So that's a way you can modify this. So if you don't have the undo and redo, click that drop down and you can get it there. Okay, I'm going to keep doing the undo. So if this nice little button's up here, why do you need no Control Z? Well, if you're over in a package like Blackboard, Canvas, maybe in SOS even, and you mess up, you delete something by accident, and you think, oh man, it's gone. My data's all gone. If you do a Control Z, really good chance is you'll undo what you just did. So everybody that uses Windows should have Control Z memorized. Like I say, it's really nice when you're in Word or Excel, you have that feature, but any others, you need to then do something about it. This changes increase your font size, decrease your font size. This one here changes your case. And you see the drop down here. You can make everything lowercase, everything uppercase, or capitalize each word. Sometimes, I don't know why, but I think it just looks better when I got a title. Like spaghetti feed tonight at 7 o'clock. See how I capitalize these right here? Well, in theory, if you highlight whatever, and then you come up here and do this drop down, you can say capitalize each word. Now, I don't necessarily like the A capitalized, but that's the way you can change that. Now, some things to note here, and I don't know, I have no clue what a purple squiggly is. That's interesting. Over here, there's a red squiggly under this. That indicates that I've spelled something wrong. And if I right-click on it, it'll tell me the correct way to spell spaghetti. And I didn't do that on purpose. I really don't know how to spell it. This is invaluable. If you have I teach math and computers, and there's one place where I teach math where they're required to submit a paper on math, and for the most part, I recognize that these people are taking algebra. They're not English majors. So I'm not really looking that close at maybe how they formed a sentence, if it's a complete sentence. Now, an English teacher would be different, but I'm least expecting that they know how to look for red squigglies in Word. And so that's where I take all the points off. You find that if you use the features of Word to correct your misspellings, and I teach other places too where I have students do discussion posts, and they'll put up their misspelled words. I'm sitting here. It's so easy. If you put it into Word, you just right click on it and it corrects it for you. And I don't know why people don't do that. Maybe they're never shown the feature. Anyway, I'm assuming it spelled this one. Now, sometimes it isn't smart enough to recognize that you put the wrong word in there. Let me see. We are, and watch it be smart enough too. We're going to their house tonight. Look at that. I was wrong. The blue, the purple, whatever color that is, I'm kind of colorblind. That's probably telling me there's a grammar issue. Let me right click on that. It was smart enough to recognize that. So some of those issues it is smart enough to even recognize. So I can then, what I'm doing is I'm choosing there and changing that. Let's see what it doesn't like about the at. It thinks it should be lowercase, and I agree. That's how I first capitalized it. Here's a red squiggly under the. Let me right click that. Delete repeated word. I actually use this, and then there's a package that I definitely recommend, at least the free version, called Grammarly. And I haven't bought it. I use the free version. I installed it on my browser at home, and when I'm typing in a little box in a web page, it'll highlight my grammar issues. It's really nice if you're in Word. You can right click on the squiggly and correct it. But if you're over in a web page and you're typing that in, you don't have that flexibility. Now, I suspect if you bought the commercial version, I couldn't even tell you how much it costs. But if you bought the commercial version of Grammarly, it just would make your papers sound so much better everywhere. But I use the web one. And it's a nice package. Let's see what I didn't like about that. And it thinks Grammarly should be grammar, grammarless, grimly. But Grammarly, I think, is how it's spelled. Little tools like this. I mean, I didn't pay a penny for that. I set up in Chrome. And these are things, if you have trouble setting that up, you can send me a message to Facebook, say, hey, can you create a little video on how to set up Grammarly on Chrome? And I can do that. Again, this right here makes me sound a lot more intelligent than I am. So when I'm responding to somebody on a discussion post, I'm not sitting there with 5 grammar mistakes as I'm sitting there hammering them about their grammar. Okay. So we talked about all the different options there. If I do this drop down here, you're going to find that many of these same options are here. And there's additional ones. So you can do a bold, italics, bold, so bold and italics at the same time. Underline style, you can choose different lines you can choose. The color gives you a preview even. Under the advanced, this is where you can choose, and let me, do I got something highlighted? Let me highlight something. Now do that drop down. And for the advanced character spacing, it'd look like that. If you want it closer together, I guess it'd look like this. Spacing expanded, raised, how much to raise it by. This raises it from everything else in that line, such that if I click OK now, See how that raises it in relation to everything else in the line. So a lot of different items you can do. And again, if you don't know quite sure what this is, like I forgot what kerning is, if I'm even saying that right, kerning for fonts. I think I've taught that way back when. Let's see what it does. Nothing I can tell. If you don't know what something is, try it. Because we know we can do an undo. So again, knowing that undo, you can just play and see what happens. That's again, my goal is not in this to teach you every little item here, to teach you, okay, this is what standard only does, this is what standard and contextual does, this is what historical and discretionary does. The idea is to get comfortable with the package, so you feel free to explore and you can undo. Here I'm sitting around doing that, and back to where I was. Okay. Now, let's see, my favorite restaurants are, can't afford it, but PF Chang's. I love PF Chang's. This place in Wichita called Byway, really good. Kind of a sketchy part of town, but I like Arby's. Okay. First off, notice it thinks I got an error here, PF Chang's. I know that's spelled right, so I'll right-click on that. And you can say ignore all. Now, anytime I spell PF Chang's or Chang's, I spell it out, it won't mark it as incorrect. Now, this is wrong. I'm not sure if it'd be smart enough to recognize it. Doesn't look like it. Rabies. So here I just have to manually change that to fix that. Okay, now I got a list of items. Now, if I highlight these, up here, there's bullets. If I click the bullets, it'll bullet those. So that'll bring those in. So if you are writing a paper and you want 3 things to really stand out, then that's a way you can do that. To unbullet them, you click that again, and that unbullets it. There's a little drop down here. If you want your bullets to be something a little bit more clever, like arrows or check marks. Check marks are nice. Like if you're creating my middle stepson, we homeschooled him, and he wouldn't always be really good about following directions. And so if we wanted him to stand out in some way, maybe check marks would be more he's kind of an artistic type person. The check marks might help him to see it better. Every child learns different, and so maybe that would work. I don't know what world that is. My eyes aren't good enough to see it. Red, yellow, and blue all mixed together. But anyway, different libraries. You can define a new bullet even. You come here and you could go through here and probably drop a picture on, font, come up with your own. I've never done that. Now there's a numbering here. If I click this will number them. I'd say maybe PF Chang's is my favorite, Byway is second, Arby's is third. That's probably about right in terms of the order. If this was steps, I was going to give him my stepson. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. He wouldn't follow directions very well, and he'd mix his steps up. Very clever individual. Don't get me wrong. He's fantastic at what he does. I couldn't even begin to compete on those items, but he just not a very step-by-step person. Now, instead of numbers, if I come here, you see there's numbers with parentheses after them. There's letters you can put on there. Let's see, what's that? Roman numerals. There. You can, again, define your own down here. It's been so long that I'm drawing a real blank on where you use that at.
Research.
Is it research papers?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
Boy, that shows you how long it's been since I wrote a research paper. Now my wife is she mainly works with my son on I worked with him on computers and mathematics, but so she could tell you all that. But I suppose if you wanted to research papers, then you could choose that. Now if I press an enter here at this point to put a new entry, it automatically redoes that. And then maybe there's another one here that should be here. I like Applebee's, but not that actually that location. If I press enter again, and now I press tab, it does a mixture of them. So if you're trying to create an outline, just by doing enter to go to the next line and then do tab, then maybe this is what I like at Applebee's. I like cheeseburgers. And I like nachos. Okay, so that way you can get that. Multi-level list. You know, and I don't think I've ever used that. Oh, that's where you can choose that option there. Instead of using a tab, you can go ahead and define it that way. That's interesting. I suppose that gives you more control. Like if you don't want these to be little a's, you can probably come here and define a new list style or new multi-level list. I always just do the tab. I'm usually happy just taking the defaults of what goes there. Like I think when I do numbers, I think it puts letters next to it. Like here, apple, orange, pear. And if I come up here and choose my numbers, let's change that back to numbers. Then if I do an enter and then I do a tab, yeah, see, it puts the letters. So, this one right here, when I click that, it brought it back to a 2. If I click that, it'll take it out to an A. So this is how you can promote or demote something. For example, if cheeseburgers isn't on this level, I need it to go back to be a Roman letter. And I come up back here and do this. I think it was demote. It says decrease indent. If I need this to go out further, and I don't know if that's possible, because then there'd be nothing in, you're missing a level. But let me try it. Guess you can take it out like that. Okay. Grab another drink. I'm gonna clean this up a little bit because I got a lot of different items here. Oh, by the way, this is a nice feature also. Part of my grading on discussions and so forth, and I'm telling this from an educational standpoint. So if you're going to college or your child's planning on going to college, these are really nice items. I have people that come up short on their word count constantly. There's one place where I teach where they do a learning journal, and it's supposed to be so many words, and I'd say 90% of them don't get the required number of words. And it could be they don't know this feature. If I have this right here, down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it's saying 40 words. Now, if I highlight that right there, you see it tells me that I have 4 40 words. So just in general, if they had their entire learning journal over there, then it's maybe not so easy because like the first prompt is supposed to be 200 words to get full points. Second one is supposed to be 200 words. Last one could be 100 words. It's all mixed together, and they don't know how many the first one has, how many the second one has. Again, if you just highlight it, then this will just easily tell you how many that is. And so you know you can add more. When I took college classes, I loved rubrics. When an instructor gave a rubric, that was I had that printed off. I had that right in front of me because they're telling you exactly how to get an A. You don't sit there and wonder. It says get 200 words. I could sit there and type whatever I needed to get that 200 words. Now some people might say, well, yeah, but it should be quality and so forth. Yeah, but a lot of times, they'll forgive you that you're not an English major. They will not forgive you that you can't count the number of words. So anyway, that's a nice feature. I'm going to clean this up like I originally started saying. Okay, and let's see. Dear Eric, things are going better. Hope everything is well with you. Good with you? Love, Dad. Now, we have this right here. And it's clear over here on the left. I got a lot of white space over here. This right here is aligned left. And by default, that's what it is, aligned left. If I choose this one, that's center. So that centers it. If I choose this one, it right aligns. This one is like a newspaper. Yeah, I thought it was. Justify. Distribute evenly between the margins. That's curious. I haven't used it for a while. It used to be, unless I'm looking at the wrong one. I didn't think you had to set any margins to use that. I thought by default it went against your entire document. Well, never mind. I don't know that one then. I'll have to figure that one out. Anyway, that's how you can change alignment on those. You can sit there and do the spaces over and over like that. That's not a good way. You can use the alignment, or even more, you can do your tabs. If you press your tab, that'll take it over. That's the preferred way. Reason why is because you can line things up easily. There's some applications I've been in where I'd have to do spaces to get it to line up, and then I couldn't tell if it was lined up perfectly. Now, over here there's a View tab. And under the View, lots of different options here. But one that's nice is the ruler. That's one of the nice ones. From that, you can kind of get an idea of where something is. If I go back to Home now, I've done a tab, and now this is over here. So if I'm looking at this right here, this top one here is first line indent, and this one's a left indent. If I start moving that top one, you see that I'm not constrained just to put it where I put the tabs at. I can move that. So, maybe the tab isn't giving you exactly what you want. Now, if I click this line, you see how this is over here. Maybe I want to move it. And as I move it, there's a line there, so you can line it up with something that's already there. So that gives you total control over that. Sometimes in Word, and I'm not a pure genius in Word, so don't think that I teach Microsoft Word classes and so forth. Well, obviously workshop. We have people at the college, that's all they do is teach Office. They could tell you every little items in here. I know how to fix things that I mess up. Sometimes I do it by accident. Sometimes I open up a Word document somebody else's, and the formatting is messed up. Being able to bring this ruler up allows you to put it back to where you want it. Put it back there. Sometimes I mess it up, and I get it over here, and then you're over here, and you're thinking, oh, this is great. and you try to do a space, and you think, well, I'll just move it back this way. And yeah, you can accomplish that. But then it causes you other issues sometimes. So again, that right there allows you to move it. Now you may say, well, that didn't move it to where you wanted it. Well, remember I put all the spaces there. How can I tell I have spaces there? Well, there's a paragraph mark here. This says show and hide. This will show you all the hidden formatting. So if I click that, it puts little dots to indicate those spaces. So I know I can get rid of those spaces. One of the things I definitely won't show you today, because I'd have to go read about it myself, is how to do columns. Columns are popular when you got a newsletter. You have your data or your stories coming down here, and then you want to come back up here and come up here like a newspaper. And columns I just find tricky to work with. I really have to do this paragraph mark to understand it when I'm working with them, because I think I'm in the column, but I'm not. And this tells you exactly where you're at. Now, by the way, I'm right here. If I do a backspace, see that sets it back to the beginning there. We haven't talked about it, but there's an insert table option where you can insert a table like that. And I can get rid of the borders. And it's gone. There's no table. So am I in table here? Am I in table here? Am I in table here? No clue. If I do the formatting, I see these weird little marks here. That helps me identify where the table's at. I think this is cell 2. And this must be cell 1. Now, obviously, you don't want to leave it there because that's kind of troubling as you're trying to create a document. But that's really useful to help to see where in the world you're at. One of the school districts was facing an issue. They came to one of my trainings on how to do HTML because their website wasn't ADA compliant, and they had received a letter and so forth. And we talked about how to fix your Word documents so that they are ADA compliant. So that a child that has maybe a whatever issue there might be, visually impaired, or and it could be audio, can be written, so forth. So it could be a multitude of conditions that child can actually use a screen reader, and read your web page. Well, this web page had text in it. It had some tables and had some floating images. And it took me about half an hour to fix it so it was ADA compliant. And what I should have done, and I never thought about it when I was doing the video, is I should have turned on the paragraph so I could see where everything was. Because I would try to highlight and select only the text. And by doing that, I'd grab like part of the table. And then when it pasted it down, it pastes the table. Some of those things you don't think about until after the fact. Okay. To shut it off, you just click it again. Okay. Now here's some color items here. Now this is sorting. We won't take a look at that. But here's the shading. Now here, I want to show this same time as I show this. You got font color and you got text highlight color. You can do this drop down. You can choose a font color, and we did change one like that. Change that to green, and this is where you can change that. So, Derek, looks horrible. If I choose that, and I choose this, and then I come over here, You see this right here is changing the background color of all of this line. This is just changing the background color of what I have selected there. So that's the difference between these three colors here. Oftentimes, when you see this option, more colors, you can pick this here. This allows you to choose all kinds of different spectrums on the colors. Okay, now the styles here. When you have something highlighted, or the line that's on, so like if I highlight all of this, and I choose these styles, it'll change it to whatever look. So this is so you don't have to set up and spend a lot of time trying to get it to look like what you want. So if I delete all this, and let's see, dear Eric, how are things? Love that. I have this all selected here. If I choose these, you can get it to look very easily. It applies a bunch of different formatting. Some of these are necessary for ADA compliance. You have to mark things as headers if they're really headers, like in a book. Here's an intense quote. So if you're doing an intense quote, then that's how you do it. If you're doing a book title. So again, pre-built items. Along with that, over in design, I guess it is, you see a lot of different options with colors and fonts and so forth. There's a drop down here where you can choose different formats also. Anytime you see those themes, styles is another name for them. You can choose them. Here's badge, banded, circuit, dividend, parallax. I didn't see that change. Maybe I have to get rid of the other one. Okay, that one changed, I think. Eyes aren't good enough to see that. Okay, now find and replace. If you choose find, it'll find text in there. Replace is if you want to go through and replace a bunch of them. You can choose that. Selects text or objects in your document. Really doesn't have any bearing with what we're doing here. You can by default select these, but that's meaning something different. Now under insert, let me clean this out again. So I got this right here. You see you can insert a cover page. And they give you already ones defined. So you don't have to decide your own. You can insert a blank page. So you want to put a page before the one you're currently on. Page break. Let's say I'm coming along, I'm typing these out. Pair. Now, I got a long ways to the bottom of the page, but I deliberately want to put a page break in there. I click that, and that'll go to the next page. So when this prints, there'll be a bunch of white space here, but maybe this next topic I actually want to be on the second page. You can insert pictures. So you can choose whatever picture you want. When it comes in, it may be too big. You see these have little white circles on them. You can click those and hold down, and you can drag. And you can make your picture whatever size you want. Lots of different options. You notice that there's now a format tab up here. Some images, well, I shouldn't say some images, maybe all images, have this capability. When you bring in an image, it puts this on here, and that allows you to do a lot of different changes. You notice that one puts a border on it. There's a black background. So you can really, I don't know what in the world that does. You can really spice it up. There's a mirror image, I guess. I like that one. So I choose that one. You can change the picture. You can do artistic effects if you're an artistic type person. Now, if I click outside of this, no longer do I see that tab. It will appear again if I click it. And that's true anywhere in Word. If you drop on a certain element, image or whatever, if you click it, that's when you'll see extra tabs appear that apply only to this. You can do a color variation. Border we've already talked about, but you can put a border on it. You can change the weight of your border, like I choose that. Come down here. You see there's a weight. If I do the drop down, I can make a thick border around it. So you don't have to necessarily be over in Microsoft Paint or Paint.net or whatever to create a nice effect. Now you can have text right beside this. This is Bugs Bunny. Now, I'd have to play with this to see how to do it exactly, but you can change the position of this text in relation to the image. Let me click this and go to Format and see. It doesn't appear to be here. How about this? Choose how your objects interacts with the text around it. Tight, throw, front of the text, behind the text. That's not what I'm wanting. Let's see. How about if I choose all of that? Paragraph is where I'd naturally think to go. So let me go to Paragraph and see if there's anything there that might help me. Alignment. Left. Outline level body text. I'm really looking for a... Yeah, let me come here. See if there's anything there. I don't see anyway. There's got to be a better way. If I choose raised, I could sit there and do that. But I know there's a better way of doing it than that. See how it moves it up? How I usually do it, in case you're wondering, you may say, well, hadn't you ever done that? Well, yeah, I do it real often. But I make my life a lot easier. I go and I insert a table. And then I put my image here. So I go to Insert. And I choose Pictures. And I drop on Bugs Bunny. And I put my text over here. This is Bugs Bunny. And at that point, I can make this however big I want. To me, this gives me total control. I like tables. So I do that right there. I can do a center. Now you might say, well, yeah, but I don't like those borders around it. Well, that's easy enough. If you click over here and highlight that entire, in this case, row, there's an option up here under the paragraph where you can do the drop down and you can choose no border. Now this gives you a total control on what you want to do. If you want to put outside borders, you can. If you want no border, then that would look like that. And then that's how I create flyers. Easy. I don't have to sit there and search for that. You can come up here if you want thick borders around it, you can. If you just want borders on the bottom, where's the bottom border? You can put a bottom border. You do this drop down here. You can do borders and shading. And now you can draw whatever you want. You come over here, and if I click here, it'll put a bottom line. And I know that's kind of small. If I change the width to like 6, and now if I click over here, there's my bottom, there's the right, there's the left, and click OK. And now there's none up here. You may like, may not like, but I use this quite a bit. That's a nice feature, this borders here. Typically, I don't actually go into borders and shading where you can do your own. I kind of go here and I either tell it I don't want any borders or I want all borders, or just outside borders. By the way, I had this selected. That's why I just applied it to that. Now, I got about 9 more minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and continue on that, and then I'll open it up. If you have anything in specific you wanna know about in Word, I'll address that. Not saying I know the answer. If I don't know the answer, I'll find out the answer and I'll create a little video and put it up on Facebook so you can then go and see. But let me see what else is interesting on here. I mean, all of it's of course interesting, but I think the shapes are really nice. If you're trying to create a like a flyer, if you're having your student create a flyer for some kind of event, the shapes are just really cool to add on. If I do the drop down there, these are all the shapes you can add in. And here's a call out. And I know that's pretty small, all these, but it gives you a lot of different ideas. If I choose a call out, it doesn't feel like it's done anything. But now if I click and drag, it'll create a like a Bugs Bunny speaking. Now what I did there is I put my mouse over, when it becomes 4 little black arrows, that means you can click and hold down and move it. And maybe I want that to be closer to his mouth, so I can click this yellow circle here and move this like that. Now if I click here in the middle, I can then type, boy, it's been so long. My son's 18 now. He's no longer a baby. He'll always be my baby, though. I think when I watched this way back when, he'd say, "What's up, Doc?" But again, you can put those in there. Really nice. And again, notice there's a format tab that has appeared. Tons of options. Word is actually taught here at Cali in a class with Office, all the Office products like Excel and PowerPoint and so forth. So really, they spend about an entire 4 weeks, 3 hours a week. So they spend a total of 12 hours covering, and they still don't cover all the different options that are available. If you're teaching geometry and you're wanting to create something in this, it has shapes, and there's like different geometric shapes. Here's an isosceles triangle. Here's some basic shapes down here. There's a right triangle. And again, it doesn't actually draw it there. I have to click and draw it here. As you draw this on here, you can then change it. You can grab these little white circles. You grab them by clicking with your left mouse button, holding down and dragging, and you can change the size of it. Make that triangle whatever shape you want. There's let's see, shapes. Smartart's kind of fun. Online video. I don't think I ever put an online video in a Word document before. That's interesting. There's a text box over here. If I click the text box, you can tell which type, simple text box, and you can put a text box on there. and type A. Now you'll notice as I change this, it may change items around it. Now if I move that up, it becomes 4 little arrows, and I can move that down. And maybe I'm trying to indicate that this is the, it wouldn't be lowercase, but that's angle A. Should be uppercase. Now if I click off of that, then you got that. Now of course maybe you don't want that border around that. So different styles you can do with that. I don't know if this border will take that off or not. Let's see. Doesn't look like it. That just applies a new one. So that would probably be under formatting if you wanted to remove the box around it. And couldn't tell you where that's at, but it's somewhere here. Text outline, customize the outline of your text. That's not it. Shape styles. There's gets rid of it. Transparent. So a lot of different things you can do with that insert. Whatever you're trying to create in terms of a document, what Word doesn't give you, all of this will give you. Smartart. This is where, I remember, yeah, I've used these before. This is where if you're trying to create some kind of flow of data, like a flow chart, you can use this. And I got so much junk on the screen there. Let me clear this off. And do a new insert, Smartart. Like if I want a basic block list, you could choose that. Here's a process. So choose OK on that. And I come here and I'm wanting to change this. You can type your text there, obviously, because it says it, but you can also click in here to change it. Maybe I'm giving instructions to my stepson on how to do something. How to clean up the yard. Rake leaves. I click over here. And then mow the yard. My wife likes leaves in bags, so it looks better, I guess. Mow the yard, and then trim. Now, I suspect there's probably a way to add in a new process over here. We're in design, so probably add shape. If I click add shape, that's where I can add a new one. Delete shape, oftentimes, if I don't know what to do, I right-click on it. Doesn't do anything. That's nice. There it goes. Right-click, and I can choose cut. Now, I'm not going to actually paste it anywhere, but cut will get rid of it. Probably, if I did a new add shape, if I had this highlight, I could just simply press the delete, and it does. So Microsoft provides many different methods for doing these. Remember how I said you can share these on applications? Let's try it. I'm going to right-click this and say copy. Let me come over to Excel and see if it actually can paste in. I don't know if it can. I never have tried this. And it can. Anyway, that's Smartart. And it tries to figure the items you want to do the most. If you're creating a family tree, you could come here. And it says organization chart, but there's probably one that says family tree, if I had to guess. It probably just has a pretty look of an organization chart. Though family trees usually have like couples together. Would this be one be name in this organization chart? I'll choose this one anyway. You'll see the idea. Not that you only have one, but or one, you know, in theory, one marriage. But let's see, there's my boomer. That's what we called him. Frank, and oh, that's bad. I can't remember my grandmother's name. Gosh, she's been passed away for about 40 years. Oh, that's horrible. His name was Frank, and his wife. They had 3 children. They had John, my dad Paul, and Bun. So you can create a family tree. I'm sure there's better ones than this. Probably, I'm not sure if it's true or not. If I do insert smart, see if there's a office.com. That's not what I was wanting. I was hoping there would be like a search where you could search new ones. But you get the idea what those are used for. Well, that's bad. I can't remember her name. Barely remembered his name. They called him Boomer. Was there any specific questions you had or things you wanted to see? Oh, and don't forget to unmute yourself. You press your space bar while you're talking. Well, I'm going to go ahead and just continue showing some features then. Let's see. I don't think it was we covered everything under home. That was I thought important. Table's nice. Table allows you to line things up perfectly. So if I choose the table option here, I can do the drop down, and I can tell it how many columns and how many rows I want. Now, if you're going to do a bunch of calculations where you're adding together columns and so forth, you should be doing that in Excel. I think tables in Word is more for formatting within other words, lining things up easily. If you find yourself struggling with lining up columns and so forth, tables does it perfectly. And maybe this is a name. I'm creating the bowling league. And week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. I have no intention of adding any of these, so I'm just doing it in Word. Eric, maybe he bowls an average of 90, 95, 101, 102. Terry is 120, 110, 131, 141. Mary is 70, 120, 150, and then 140. Okay, now I got this in here now. You notice design is selected. If I do the drop down here, these are some different designs that I can choose. And these are really nice because it gives you a really clean look without doing any kind of work. Now this little dark orange across the top here, that means that it's got a header. And you see it puts my header in the dark orange. Now you're not committed to that. After you choose it, you can go choose something else. You want to change it to blue. Now if I have something on the side here, that's where you choose one of these ones with the dark blue on the side or dark green on the side and so forth. Ours didn't have anything on the left-hand side, but if you did, you choose that. There's other options you can choose. There's that. I could achieve the same effect by going through and bolding this, making here the text color white, making the background black. Could spend probably 15, 20, 30 minutes trying to get that same look. Again, these the design here, these table styles are meant to make your life easy. Now, say I forgot to put a row in, or column, sorry. If I put my mouse up here, it becomes an arrow, specifically a black arrow pointing down. If I click that, that'll highlight that, that column. At this point, if I right click, you see there's an insert option. Again, right click is your best friend. No matter what you choose, it'll bring up items specific to what you're working with. It knows I'm in the table, so it's knowing I want to put either columns to the left, columns to the right, maybe rows above, rows below. And I want to put a column to the right. So I choose insert column to the right. And then I could type my week 5. I didn't enter there, is why that went down. I should have done a down arrow. If you want to get rid of a one particular column, I'm so used to highlighting it, but it appears like you just click in that column, right click, and maybe I'm lying to you. Maybe there's a reason why I select the entire column. Okay, I select the entire column, and actually you notice there is a delete, but I come here, and I can say delete columns. And then that'll scoot everything over. Week 3 is now gone. If you need to put a row in here, you come over here, and you can select that row, and you can right-click on the gray area, and you can choose insert, and insert rows above, below, whatever. Let's say rows above. And I want to put Frank here. All the different fonts and changes you can make there, just like before. If this, sometimes when I create this, I don't like the width of the columns, and you can change that. If you're in the table, grab a drink here. If you're in the table, like I'm right here, you'll see this appear across the top here, and I don't know what that looks like, but if I put my mouse over, it becomes a double black arrow. If I click and hold down, I can resize the column. I didn't grab the right one. Let's try that again. Control Z. And so you can make these whatever size you want. So if you do need to fit in more on one page, this allows you total control on what you want to make those. This is what indicates you have a header row. Over here, here's some commands for inserting rows above, below, insert to the right. So like if I have week 5 here, looks like I can click this button, insert column to the right, insert another column to the right, another column to the right. And so then I can very quickly build this week 6, week 7, week 8. I held a Excel class last night, and I'd say a good percentage of the class did not have the newest version of Office. Like well, this isn't even the newest one. I think 2019 may be out. That's why I show that where you highlight it, you right-click here. This has been here forever. I shouldn't say forever, but it's been here quite a while. So I'm pretty confident that your version of Word would have this feature. Let's see, anything else interesting up here? You can change the row, the column width here, text direction. Text direction is kind of nice. I don't know if I need to select the text. I'm going to go ahead and select it, just be on the safe side. If I choose text direction, let me just click in here and see if it, okay, yeah, I don't have to select it. But if I select all of these here, I'm clicking my left mouse button, dragging over, and choosing text direction, then I can have it that way. So if you're trying to save space so you can get more on that one piece of paper, then that's a nice way to do it. There's a way to do it at an angle too. I think it's, let me go to home. Not that one. I don't know where it's at, to be honest. I think I've only done it one time where I actually changed the angle of it so it'd appear at an angle. I don't see no little item in the bottom right hand corner here to expand on that. Alignment, line right. It is somewhere. You know, of course, if you can't find something, the best place to go is to Google. Go to www.google.com. You type in Microsoft Word. You type in text direction, and maybe you type in an angle, and that'll probably give you a hint on what to do. Oh, this is for the page. It bothers me. I can't think where that's at. Let's see what else is. Okay, that was our table. Pictures we looked at. Screenshot. Quickly add a snapshot of any windows open on any desktop to your document. Okay, so I got Callie's website here. Not Callie's. This is a Callie College Computer Science Facebook. This is also where you go to look for future events. If you're in Wichita area, I'll go ahead and put the plug in for that. I'll be having some starting next week at the Mulvane Center. I think Excel Basics is Thursday, not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. So you'll go out here and you can see you can attend a workshop live if you want. Again, just sign up via the Sign Up Genius link there. Just so I don't have more people come than there is computers. If you're in the Wellington area, then you're welcome to come here. You're welcome if you're in the Wellington area. I'm going to be doing these live from our Wellington. You're welcome to come and sit in the class. I don't have a problem with that. But let's say I want to capture something off of here. Oh, by the way, that's under events. I come over here and choose a screenshot. And I've never used this, to be honest. So we'll see. Available windows. That's curious. It doesn't give me the option to go into that web page. There is a new way, and I doubt if I could actually remember it. Yeah, that's it. If you got a Windows 10, if I'm over here, there's actually a clipping tool available on Windows too. But if I hold on my Windows button, it's that one that has the four little, more or less, squares on it. If I hold down that, I hold down my Shift key and S for select. Then it'll come up here, it'll kind of gray out your screen. And if I click and hold down and drag a rectangle by whatever I want to capture, That just copied it to the clipboard, such that when I come over here, if I come down below my table and I do a paste, that came in big. But I can resize that. I read about that about a week ago, and I thought that's one of the coolest features. Again, I just held down my Windows key, I held down my Shift key, and I did S, and that threw it in that mode where I could then highlight and grab whatever's on the screen. It does not matter what application you're in. If you're in Alpha Omega, the SOS, and you want to capture something on the screen and send it to somebody, you can do that. It doesn't matter what you're in, that works. Again, there used to be a snipping tool, and I don't know if there's still a snipping tool on these. It kind of accomplished the same task. I had one person in class said, "Well, I like the snipping tool better." Well, it's kind of personal preference, whatever you like better, I guess. I'm disappointed in their tool up here, though. That didn't actually take a screenshot. It says if any window that's open on your desktop to your document. I have this open. Maybe if I choose screen clipping. Screen clipping. Okay, I lie. That's pretty cool. That'll bring that in directly. That's even a little bit easier than the other one. You don't have to sit there and memorize that keystroke. So again, what I did there is I did insert, screenshot, and I screenshot, and I chose screen clipping here at the bottom. And then it comes over, throws it kind of gray, and then I just hold down my left mouse button, click, and drag, and whatever I've drawn around, it'll put it on there. I was curious, wiped out my old one, probably because I had it selected. One more time. I don't like the fact it just got rid of my my image. Okay, yeah, it was because I had it selected. Let's see if there's anything else interesting on this. If you want to practice these items in person, actually I'm doing a Word next week, I believe, here at the Wellington Center on Tuesday night. Again, if you go to the events there, you'll see those. And there's no charge for the workshops, so just sign up and let's see. Oh, spelling and grammar. I come here quite a bit. When I got something review. When I got something I want to have it do a spell check on, grammar, it does the red squiggly automatically. It does the little purple squiggly or whatever, but you can come over here and do spelling and grammar. And it'll come up over here. I got these blocking that, but let me move these to the left side now. Maybe. I'm going to close that. And it'll give me an idea. What should it be? Okay, well, that should be tonight. So I can click change. Or I can ignore or whatever. I'll do change. That's disappointing. Maybe Kirch is a word. That's why it still doesn't take the human side out of it. Machines get smart, but it's still, that would have been embarrassing for me to post. If I had that. Well, it's 11:20, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording on that.